Hi there, darlings. Welcome to the full moon in Virgo. And I am so thrilled to be sharing this soundscape with you today. As you can see, I'm recording this in the daytime, which is unusual, but it means we're going to have a bit more light to look at some crystals, some amazing ritual tools, and to get deep into the energy of this beautiful earthy moon together. So I hope you are here for the duration. The way these sessions work is that we spend the first section, about 45 minutes, in a workshop situation. So we're going to be talking about the crystals, the rituals, the oils, the tarot cards that all plug into this particular full moon, how you can use those tools to amplify or pacify the energy that you're looking to work with right now. And then we're going to take a brief pause and dive into the sound together. So we will be in the sound for about an hour today. The sound will be predominantly the wonderful gongs. There'll also be some crystal bowls, some Himalayan bowls, and definitely some drumming, because during Earth season, we really want to be focusing on our connection to ground. And this is the first Earth moon of the year, really. We did start with in Capricorn season in January, but this is really our first big opportunity to plug into the kind of the grounding, connective energy of this wonderful element. So I hope you're excited. Do feel free to come back to this session for reference points if you have questions, if they come up throughout. If you want to drop messages in the comments, you're welcome to. If you have personal questions, please feel free to email me. You can find the information through the website, and that's linked in the notes. So let's get started. First place always to start is by setting our space. So today I'm just using this lovely little pink candle. I'm not usually that big on coloured candles. Coloured candles is a very kind of Wiccan thing in terms of spell casting. And although I do practice a little bit on the Wiccan trajectory, it's not so much my thing. But this is just really cute. I got this from a Great Moon Circle the other night. I really like it. It's really speaking to me. We will talk a bit today about how important the heart and Venus energy is right now. So maybe that's why this little pink candle is doing her job. So lighting a candle, I'm clearing today with Palo Santo, a beautiful wood, traditionally found in South America. We need to be very careful with how we're sourcing it, as with all natural resources. Western wellness is in the process of plundering a lot of natural resource, and we do have to take care. So I use Palo Santo sparingly. I buy it from a very wonderful supplier who buys it direct from the tribe that wild harvest it, and he makes sure that the money does go back to those farmers. And one of the reasons I really like Palo Santo, apart from the fact that it smells amazing, it's from the same family as frankincense, Boswellia graveolens family, the Latin. It's just got this really beautiful groundingness that you would expect from a woody scent. Although lots of people use it for ascension, and I do really like it for ascension. I use it a lot with frankincense and in fact rose for high vibration mist. The actual wood scent is just really, really supportive in terms of feeling that connection to earth. And if you close your eyes, you can really imagine yourself deep in a forest of this wonderful plant. And that's really a good place to start today. And we're going to start with our conscious breathing and meditation together. So if you have any kind of woods to hand, if you don't, then maybe think about essential oils or herbs. Again, herb bundles is something I really love. I try not to overuse white sage for the same reason, although I do think it's beautiful. This one is lavender, very calming and soothing in the water season while we're still under this Pisces solar energy. We have eucalyptus, wonderful for clearing. We have rosemary, very grounding and also very purifying, which is a big theme of Virgo. And we've got some bay, again, about purifying and kind of drawing. I mean, when we use it in Italian cooking, for example, bay is about drawing the scent into the sauce. So I like to think of bay and a herb as like drawing the energy of our session into our being, into our skin. Make your skin the sauce and make a delicious feast out of it. Sounds a bit cannibalistic. So woods, herbs, essential oil wise, I'm using a lot of woody things again. Cedarwood is one of my absolute faves. I use it for almost everything. So cedarwood, a bit of sandalwood is really nice. I do have Palo Santo oil, again, check sustainability carefully. And you only need the tiniest amount. It goes very far indeed. I'm also using a bit of rose and a bit of geranium with mine. I find geranium really uplifting, which I think is really necessary right now. We've had a really heavy energy that we're coming out of that we'll be touching on shortly as well. And I think something just to kind of lift us all. I mean, if like me, you're lucky enough to have gorgeous blue skies and sunshine today, that's already really helpful. But otherwise, geranium is a really good mood booster. So I really recommend that to add to your body scent. And I'm also using rose, as I said, rose, pinks. I've got a lot of rose quartz knocking around at the moment. Are feeling really relevant right now. Venus is very active. Venus is the planet of love, beauty, money, abundance, a little bit of sensuality, and that kind of rose energy to me is very much a kind of opening, heart opening energy. So woods and a dash of floral is my tip, and you can check my Instagram for recipes if you would like more of that. So we've set our space. Let's come into a seat that suits you. It can be cross-legged if you like. If you know you can stay comfortable for a few moments. Lying down is great. The amazing thing about doing this work at home is we can lie on the bed or the sofa or the floor, be cozy. Just choose somewhere you can stay for a few moments as we work through our conscious breath work together. This is a pre-record, so I'm just going to do a couple of cycles of this. If you want to pause after you've got the flow and just take this forward for 5 or 10 minutes, then you're really welcome to. So we'll begin by taking a really deep inhale in through the nose and sighing out softly through the mouth. Inhaling and exhaling. And as you inhale, feeling the belly expand, the ribs lift, the shoulder blades soften down the back, squeezing together on the spine, and softly feeling your pelvis root into earth. As you exhale, maintain that root, but feel the softness as your shoulders roll forward. Feel that softness in the jaw, maybe moving the jaw around on your exhale. Surprising how much tension we can get up here in the cheekbones. Keeping the pelvis rooted or the hips, however you're seated. Inhaling deeply one more time. And exhale softly. And from this place, we'll move into conscious breathing. This is a cycle of 4-4-8 breath work. Inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 8. So the inhale is through our nose, the exhale is through our mouth. And you may find at the beginning that 8 feels a little unavailable for an exhale. You may want to take a couple of moments or give yourself a couple of opportunities to feel the exhale extend. So let's begin together, emptying the lungs to start with. And inhaling in through the nose to the count of 1, 2, 3, and 4. Hold your breath, send your awareness down to your root chakra. 2, 3, and 4. And exhale through the lips. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Holding your breath, send your awareness down to the very base of the spine, the root chakra. 3 and 4. Exhale through the lips. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Inhaling. Hold. Exhaling. Perhaps noticing that your exhale is now extending in length. Noticing the texture and the quality of your exhale, the texture and quality of your breath. Inhaling. Hold. And exhale. And continuing with this cycle, if you'd like to pause the video and carry on, maybe extending your count, maybe go to 5-5-9 or 6-6-10. Or just keep going 4-4-8 for 10, 15, 20 minutes. Conscious breath work is the most beautiful tool for helping bring us into our body. So wherever you are, allowing your breath to soften into its natural rhythm, you can let go of the count. And take your awareness down to the root chakra. If you're not sure where this is or it doesn't resonate for you, simply find the part of the body where earth and body vessel meet. For women, this might feel like the yoni, or you may feel better doing this through your feet. But I'd like you to send your awareness down through the body into the earth beneath you. Really focusing on the ground, focusing on the texture. Maybe you're on a soft rug or a hard floor, or on the sand, or sitting on a rock. And as you inhale, I want you to imagine the earth beneath you opening up. Just a small channel and energy from the earth flowing upwards into your body, in through that channel, into the root chakra, into the tip of the spine. And as you exhale, you're sending energy down that same channel out through the root chakra, or through the yoni or the feet, down into earth. Inhaling, feeling the earth's energy, Mother Earth, Gaia, send her nourishment, her nurturing into your body through the root. And exhaling that energy, your energy, back into earth in a sacred exchange or transaction, a multi-dimensional vibration. On your next inhale, as the energy comes up through the channel from earth into vessel, feel it move up through the body, through the spine, from the root chakra through the sacral, the solar plexus, through your heart center, up to your third eye, space between the eyebrows. And as you exhale, feeling that energy move back from the third eye, down through the body like a plumb line, back to the root chakra and down into earth. Breathing in, using your root, connecting to earth, connecting to ground. Feel that flow of energy from nature, from nurture, from mother. Sharing your vibration back with her. You're one and the same. And when you feel ready, you can softly let the visualization blur around the edges. And find your way back into your seat. Just having a little momentary check of all of the channels. Perfect. Okay, my lovelies. So let's put my notes here, because I always find myself going off track otherwise, and there's so much to share. Virgo, I know many of you watching and connecting with these sessions have a lot of Virgo energy. It's something we've been talking about a lot lately on social media. Virgo is an earth sign. She is often represented by the Virgin. It's the first thing to say is that I think this is a real misrepresentation. Not all Virgos are particularly virginal. And that's not a assertion or an accusation either way, but the word virgin and the way we use it in modern society perhaps does a disservice to that virgin energy of the Virgo symbol and Virgo sign. The idea of the Virgin is that the Virgin is independent of self. She's yet to go out and meet the world, to meet a partner, a lover, and a soulmate. So she is entirely focused on her own exploration, her own journey. Her devotion is to herself and her practice and her ritual, because she is yet to find another soul to be devoted to on the human plane. So this is one of the reasons that Virgo is this beautiful energy. It's about self-devotion. It's about self-worship. It's kind of a priestess energy in lots of ways, not so much nun-like, but definitely I imagine her being kind of Hermes-like in a goddess in a Greek temple, kind of very Venusian in that way. And Virgo really does symbolize that kind of nurturing, healing energy. She is sending all of her love, all of her focus, all of her awareness inwards into her temple, her being, her vessel, and doing her very best to adopt rituals and routines that will support the growth and expansion of that vessel. And that's what makes this a beautiful full moon for this time of year. Just as we edge into spring, we're just coming into March, and again, as I say, it's sunny, it's beautiful. We've been blessed with blue skies and gorgeous beaches here this weekend. I know not everybody has that luxury, and we're very fortunate, but certainly spring in the northern hemisphere is sprung. The daffodils are popping up. I feel like there's bunnies hopping around everywhere, but very much we're in that energy of new light, longer days. The sun definitely feels like it's setting later, everything just feels that little bit more open. There's green around, shoots coming up through the earth. And that's really the way we can see ourselves under this Virgo moon. We have this kind of fresh start, this spring in the body. It's a great time for spring cleaning, for detoxing, for getting rid of old habits that no longer serve and replacing them with routines and regimes which really serve us and help us to show up for ourselves and for those we love in our communities in the best way we can. So Virgo is a real kind of embodiment of this self-serving in a really positive way, this kind of self-devotion. So I thoroughly encourage you right now to be having a look at your routines, your regimes. Is it a good time to start a new HIIT class? Do you need to adjust your yoga commitment? Is it time for a juice cleanse? Is it time to ditch the wine? Any of these things that may feel that they've been kind of lingering around the edges through this dark winter, now is the time to bring them to the surface and have a little look at how you might wish to address them. And remembering that everything is a cycle. So just because you're making changes to routines now doesn't mean you can't change them back or that things then have to stay the same. It's just about putting some structure in to allow yourself time to root and flourish and get into this earthing energy, to let your roots really kind of take up nature and nurture and to give them a chance so that you're in your best place moving forwards into the new astrological year, which begins in about 4 weeks now, or 3 weeks in fact, and into the summer, into this time of outward facing vitality and expansion where we're kind of out there in the world and we're showing ourselves, we're showing up with confidence. It's fire season, we're believing, we're promoting, we're moving forward, we're in vision, and this is really the time where we make sure we're ready for that season. So hopefully that makes some sense. In terms of how we work ritualistically in Virgo season, I've already mentioned the importance of woods and earth elements. I translate a lot of this into bathing rituals, and bathing rituals are super important regardless of which season we're in. It's a really important part of ritual in pretty much every culture that I honour, certainly in shamanic culture, in pagan and Celtic culture, in Vedic culture. And one of the ways that I draw earth in is to work a lot with clays. So that makes a bit of a mess of your bathtub, I'm not going to lie. To really look at clay cleansers, green clays, bentonite clays, red clays even, and that really does need a clean afterwards. And look at using some of your herbs. So maybe if you're like mine, your bundle is kind of half burnt down, you can chop off the end and then kind of crumble what's left into your bath, or make a little tea bag out of a muslin sag with the herbs if you like something cleaner. Salts are also incredibly cleansing and purifying. Virgin Virgo is about purifying and healing, cleansing and clarifying. So Himalayan salt, Epsom salt, really high grade magnesium flakes are also really good. And these are all things that you can bring into your altar rituals as well, using small bowls like my little selenite bowl here, to carry these items and carry these salts or clays or herbs. You can go and pick them fresh. This is rosemary I just got from my garden this morning, for example. And just have these little offerings to hand in your space, in your bathroom, in your bedroom, in your altar. So as we move through this season, these earthy tools are there available for you. What else? Grounding rituals, walking meditations, amazing, chanting, mantra, things that involve structure and routine and counting. Mala beads, which I can show you in a minute, are a really beautiful way to work with kind of structured meditation. So where you repeat the same mantra over and over 108 times, and you're using the beads to count to help you stay structured and on track. And this is a really good energy to be working with around Virgo. One of the things I do in my spare time is make mala beads, and I just launched an elements collection this weekend on the Virgo moon, especially for that reason, that this idea of structure and practicality and organisation really sits with Virgo energy. So they're a really beautiful partnership. For crystals, I'm going to move a few things out the way so that I can set up a little grid to share with you here. I'm really mindful of the sun kind of glowing me out a little bit as well, so I need to take care not to lose you. So I'm using my harmonium as an altar just for the purposes of being able to show you this grid as clearly as possible. It's not always that easy in these spaces. And the grid that I'm using is the flower of life on my little muslin cloth here. You can see them easier there, I think. So traditionally, the flower of life and the seed of life, which is a simpler version of this, would be used at new moon times, manifesting and beginning times. However, I have decided to go for it for the full moon, even though that's normally a protective energy, a Metatron's cube in crystal terms, because I feel like we're really in this spring-like flowering phase. It feels really important to me that we are currently in a phase of working with cleansing and with newness and preparing for a new chapter, for a new beginning, for a new season, very much emerging from this sort of winter energy. It's going to be really hard to get this right with the light, I think. Trying to move this around so you can see it. I might have to show you afterwards on a photo, I think. But let's get going with our grid. So we always start at the centre of our grid with a point. If we're working with Reiki energy, which I generally am, having a generator point where 6 faces of a crystal arrive at a singular point really basically is like drawing that energy into a channel. And when I did this session the other day live, I think I used the example of She-Ra, if you're old enough to remember the 80s TV shows where all of the kind of energy of the earth kind of comes together and goes whoosh, up in a line. And if you're working with Reiki energy, I find that, you know, I really can feel the power of that energy moving through the anchor, the generator crystal, into the centre of my palm, where I can almost catch it and really feel that fire coming into my body, feel those vibrations. And then when I'm playing afterwards, bringing the sound into the space, the energy that we've created from this grid is flowing through into that sound and back into you, the recipient. So this for me is one of the reasons I work with crystals such a lot in the sound space. Crystals are just energy. They are vibration, as all matter is, constructed of elements. So they represent all of the different elemental constructs that we also have in our bodies. They are a conduit for the energy we hold. And they simply vibrate at a less hectic level. You know, when we use mallets and strike these gongs, you know all about it. You hear it straight away. Your senses that are kind of in the autonomic senses in the real 3D world can feel those vibrations. Normally, just holding a crystal, the average person probably can't really feel it vibrate, but it is vibrating. And when you start to tune in, you really start to sense that vibration. You feel it. And it's doing just the same thing as these guys can do. So we can bring these vibrations into your space, into your body, into your practices, your rituals. And I think they are wonderful tools to help amplify your practice, your meditation. And finally, it's worth saying that even if you don't necessarily buy into the vibrational aspects of crystals, and lots of people don't until they experience it, so don't worry if that's your feeling right now, no judgment here. The thing that I find them really helpful for is they just help you map out your emotions, map out your feelings. This is all intuitive work. So by selecting your crystals according to the lunar phases, according to how you're feeling right now, it's really an invitation for you to explore that feeling, to explore where you are, what you would like to dial up and what you would like to dial down. And some of us can do that really easily just by writing in our journal, I want to feel more balanced this month. I feel like I'm in chaos. I need to ground my energy. But for some of us, maybe it's not that obvious. And I find that I need to look at crystals and to see what's calling me, to see what I feel drawn to. And then I pretty much have a map of knowing where I'm at personally. And that helps me plan as I move forward, plan how to schedule my day, my work, my relationship, so that I can show up in the best way possible for all people involved in those areas of life. So I'm just going to run you through some of the big crystals that I'm working with this Virgo moon, just tell you a little bit about them, and then we're going to build a grid together with these at the centre. So smoky quartz, which is what I was waving at you already, and this is actually maybe slightly easier in the light. This little smoky quartz prism is the one I use at the centre of grids because it has that point, that generator point. But this piece, which I think is just mega, it's like an external geode, so it means it's a clustered geode on both sides. One of my favourite pieces. Smoky quartz is the king of the earth crystals, or the queen of the earth crystals. I think he's male, he's a king. So if you are working in an earth energy, one of the things you're going to want to do is think about your grounding. And that, as I've been saying already, is really big for me right now. We've been in a really hectic, heady phase, a lot of Aquarius energy, big stelliums, the great conjunction, it's all been huge up here in the mind. And now we're in Pisces season, which of all the water signs can be the most challenging, very emotional, very deep, very much about intuition, but a lot of kind of yo-yoing uncertainty within that emotional landscape. So for me, even though I'm a water sign and I have actually almost no earth in my chart, I have a Capricorn rising and I've got no planets in earth at all. So I find that I really need earth, and I'm really clutching my smoky quartz right now because I'm aware that this is an area that I'm lacking in terms of my own elemental construction. And I really need to connect with earthing tools to help me feel stable and safe and grounded and able to navigate this big phase that we're in of big Aquarian kind of age of Aquarius, digital evolution energy. More of that later. I can talk for hours on the Great Conjunction and the Age of Aquarius. So smoky quartz, it sits generally between the sacral and the root chakras, and it's really amazing for drawing energy from up here in the head, from the third eye, and transmuting it and grounding it through the root. So for me, this is an essential crystal in any collection. It's probably the one I use the most. And it is just an absolute winner when things are just feeling chaotic and you just need to get your feet in the sand and feel a little bit safer. So that's going to be our centre today. We'll put him off to the side. I'm also working a lot with heart crystals right now. And the reason for this is that although we are in an earth moon, and we're in a water sun, Pisces, one of the biggest planetary energies going on right now is with Venus, and we will do a little section just before the sound on specifically the astrological energy right now. But Venus has currently moved into Pisces, so she is in the sign that we're currently ruled by in the solar sense. And Venus loves Pisces. Venus energy is love, it's heart, it's harmony, it's beauty and art, it's the sweeter and finer things in life. And she's very much connected to our own kind of heart opening and compassion's nature. Venus in Pisces, Venus in that kind of emotional, kind of free-flowing sign, means that Venusian energy can really open up and flow freely. Often in our modern world, the heart is quite closed. We're not encouraged to be as compassionate as perhaps we could be, and compassion and heart science, heart math, is not a thing we're familiar with as kids in general. So we often are fighting slightly with our natural willingness to open. But Venus in Pisces creates an energy which really allows this. It's all about love and art and beauty and sweetness flowing freely, flowing out in all directions, flowing compassionately. And after what has been, I think for most of us, a very difficult year overall and quite a challenging January and February, I think a little bit of softness and heart opening love is what we all need. And for me, this current Venus transit is really supportive of that. So I'm doing a lot with rose quartz, which is the ultimate heart stone. This is usually associated with Libra, which is the aspect of air, which is more about the heart center. Air is associated with the heart chakra. However, rose quartz, like smoky quartz, is another must-have. It's a really soft and gentle, loving stone. It's the one that we generally would use if we're doing grids or spells or manifestations about love, about relationships, about happiness. Anything that involves our kind of inner happiness and inner fulfillment. So rose quartz, always a goodie to have to hand. Similarly, I'm using emerald, and this is one of my pride and joy pieces. This huge chunk of emerald you can see in a black marble matrix. I'm trying to show you really carefully on the screen. It's really hard. I just love this piece. It's one of my absolute faves. Beautiful Brazilian emerald. So emerald is the stone of successful love, and emerald is also very much a heart-centered stone. You will normally find that the majority of green and pink stones are associated with the heart center when you work with crystals. And emerald is just a really, really beautiful stone for that kind of love energy. In this sense, I've picked it less about relationships in an outward-facing way, but more about your inward-facing relationship with love. So your self-love, self-esteem, self-worth, and to a degree, self-confidence. So when we talk about the Virgo energy we're currently in, and that sense of devotion and priestess vibes and rituals and really supporting yourself to be your best version of yourself out there in the world, emerald, I think, is one that we could really, really all do with. We often find that our focus on love, our focus on devotion is very outward facing. We're trying to please our partner, our husband, our kids, our parents, our colleagues. And actually, we don't make an awful lot of space for pleasing ourselves and for giving ourselves joy and love from our own actions. So this is something I'm channeling really hard right now, and I've been finding emerald a really interesting crystal to work with, as well as just being beautiful. And green, although heart-centered, is also just a beautiful thing, I think, to welcome in the springtime. So finally, of the biggies, I've got some green aventurine. This is a big old hunk, and I'm a big fan, as you can probably tell, of these generate half rough, half polished generator points. So you could use this at the center of a grid. It has that point. This is only a small grid that I'm working with today, but if I'm working one of my big ones, I would probably use this at the center. Aventurine is the stone of transformation, and it's a really a great energy for right now. And this is where we're going to mention the Great Conjunction again. Those of you that I know follow me and other practitioners a lot will know all about the Great Conjunction, the meeting of Jupiter and Saturn at 0 degrees Aquarius, and that happened back on winter solstice. For many people, many thinkers, many spiritual leaders and teachers, this indicated the beginning of the age of Aquarius, which is really about a shift from the Industrial Revolution, the kind of the dark age of humanity, where we've become completely focused on physicality, materialism, self and stuff, and then moving into what the Vedas would call the golden age of spirituality, of kind of light and life, where we're moving from the darkest expression of humanity into the lightest. Age of Aquarius is something, if like me you grew up in the 80s and 90s, you'll be really familiar with certain records and references. You know, in the 70s it was really felt and seen that this was on the horizon 40 or 50 years down the line, and now we're here. So the age of Aquarius is showing up in technology, innovation, the digital world. For me, it is almost no surprise that this pandemic has come in a kind of a cleansing sort of sense to help us look at how we treat our bodies, how we treat the planet, how we work with science for the greater good. And it's certainly helped us to look at how we use technology. The fact that I'm sat here recording this in what was once my spare room, surrounded by the desks and the mattresses and all the other stuff, really shows that we're now having to embrace a new way of doing things in order to progress. And I think this is a microcosm of what the planet as a whole is up to right now. So green aventurine, transformation, not always easy or comfortable. And the green aventurine is a great stone for helping to transmute challenges in transition, but it's also about helping remind you why you're doing it. So I find I use this a lot. I keep this one on my desk. I cleanse them every morning, and I feel like every day I'm looking here for guidance. You know, why am I doing this? What does the future hold? Where is this innovation and all this efforting and technology and digital landscape going to take me? So aventurine is great as we move through this Virgo season, because Virgo is looking at new routines, new regimes, shedding of the old, looking at kind of cleansing, purifying, heart-opening health, and all of these themes that we've talked about. So I feel aventurine is a really good one to be plugging into right now. Okay, we're going to build the rest of our grid. I'm going to sit up a little bit. So I'm just going to have some coffee. This is quite nice doing these in the morning, because I feel like I can have my coffee with you guys. Okay, so crystals. I've got my tumbles today in this little selenite bowl, which I love. You can charge your crystals in many ways. The full moon light is obviously the one people tend to know a lot about, which is great, unless you have, like me, thousands of crystals, in which case it's a bit of a drag, taking them all out into the garden and hoping for a clear night. I usually take the big ones for record. If anyone asks, these big points that I've just been sharing with you, my big kind of keystones I will still take out to the moonlight. But buckets and buckets of small ones just creates a lot of aggro. So I have other solutions for that. Salt, Epsom or Himalayan or sea salt, as locally harvested as you can. If you happen to live in Cornwall or Ibiza, you are lucky. Salt water is great. Don't put any stones with ite on the end of them in salt water. So things like fluorite, kyanite, selenite, malachite, they do not like water and they will degrade. So not for those. You can also use smoke. So the sacred smoke that I showed you earlier, you can use the smoke from your Palo Santo, from any local herbs you like, from white sage, but I would really recommend local herbs, because what we're really trying to do is cleanse the energy of these crystals with energy of earth, or energy of the environment, of nature. So whether that's coming from smoke or from water or from the light of the moon, fire essentially, we're working with the elements to create cleansing. But local is always better. You're really honouring your local landscape that way as well. So the reason I tell you all that is that if none of those things appeal or you haven't got time, a selenite bowl is also amazing. Selenite or clear quartz will charge other crystals, or citrine, although citrine is pretty expensive and you probably won't have rocks of that knocking around so often. So a selenite bowl is a really nice way to prepare any crystals you're planning to use in ceremony. So what I normally do is I instinctively know what my generator point will be. Generally I have a fairly worn-in tradition that for an earth season I'll usually go to a smoky quartz. For a fire season I'll usually go to a citrine or carnelian. For a water season I will generally go to a labradorite or a clear quartz, and then for an air season it will probably be rose. So I've got some of these big points that I know are my locked on ones, and they might switch out, but start there. And then I'll kind of instinctively think about, how am I feeling? You know, what feels right? I'll come into the space, I'll look at my crystals, I'll move around the house because they're everywhere, and just see what's drawing me. And usually as we come into a moon or a lunar phase, I'll start kind of going, oh, I really want howlite today. Like I really need to have some howlite in my hand or on my desk. And then what that tells me is to go away and have a think about what howlite represents. In that case, it's calming and soothing, bringing frayed edges down, kind of like a little hug on a little white rock. So from that, I instinctively know that I'm feeling like I need soothing, like I'm feeling a bit tense, a bit frayed. I need something to support me in just calming and transmuting those edgy energies. So for example, I've got howlite here today because I've been reaching for that a lot this week. As we've come into this moon, it's felt really necessary to me. So you may like to pick crystals that way. You may like to pick them because you don't have very many and you just have what you have, and that's also fine. If you don't have very many or any, you can use anything you like. You can use pebbles or shells or flowers. Go and have a look outside. Go and look in your house and your garden. Go and walk around your road and see what's there. You'll be surprised what you can find. Obviously, be careful with foraging. Don't steal from your neighbour's garden. But you can find that really this grid is all about tapping into your own energy. So if you're reaching for calming, nourishing, soothing stones or talismans, then you know that's telling you something about what your energy needs right now. If you're going for a lot of warm and hot things, fire things, then you know that you're kind of feeling really manifesty and really ignited and creative, and this is a good time to be starting new projects, getting ideas flowing, doing some brainstorming. So you can really use your kind of energetic codes to tap into where you are. So I've no idea how long I've been going for, but I'm sure it's way too long. We're going to start today. I'm going to take a few bits out of here with more smoky quartz, because for me, we have been in this very kind of chaotic season for quite some time. The only earth energy we had really through the winter was the Capricorn season, which fell over Christmas, which to me didn't feel very earthed. It was a very strange season this year, predominantly because Capricorn season began on the day of the Great Conjunction, the winter solstice. So for me, that earthing energy was utterly overshadowed by the enormity of the Great Conjunction and this big Aquarian air energy that it brought with it. So it really felt to me like we didn't have an earth season through Capricorn this year. And then we just sort of dived into Aquarius sun season, and it just felt like it was 2 months of Aquarius, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but it didn't give us a chance to root. And I think that's why I'm feeling so unrooted and unstable right now, in a non-crazy sense. But you know, I think a lot of us have that feeling. It's been a long winter. For us here in the UK, we've been in lockdown for what feels like forever, and it's, you know, it's considering we've been very home and inwards and stuck and not being able to travel and experience different cultures and places and energies, we do seem to not really have much of our own earthing energy right now. Therefore, much more smoky quartz. So as well as my generator, I've got some nice big tumblers here, and I am putting these all over the north of my grid. So I'm going to briefly touch on aspects, and this is really helpful if you don't have loads of crystals. You could also just work with north, south, east, west and centre. All of my beeps on. North, south, east, west and centre, and they give you the different elements. So you can say earth is north, east is air, south is fire, west is water, and then centre would be spirit. That's a really nice way of just doing an easy 5-piece grid with whatever you have available. Or you could work in the kind of crystal cardinal compass way, which deals with the kind of shamanic codes, where the north would be the knowing place, and the south is the close to place, the west is looks within, and the east is sees afar. So you can use that to kind of think about your insights as well. Or you can simply grid it because it looks pretty and that makes you feel good and it gives you something to focus on. In Tibetan or Himalayan tradition, a mandala would be used to focus the mind. So there's many monks, I think it's in Tibet, use ground up marble and these amazing, like really high pigment colours, like marble sand, and then spend, you know, weeks, months making these really intricate mandalas of shapes and patterns, really symmetrical, because it really focuses the mind. It's like art as meditation. And if that interests you, look up Julia Cameron. And then at the end of it, they sit and pray on their mandala and then they destroy it straight away and kick it to pieces. And it's all about the teaching of impermanence. But the way they get to that learning is through the commitment and the structure of symmetry. So, you know, grids are really yours to own. It's for you intuitively to explore. So I'm going to show you how I'm laying mine out, but you can totally do yours how you want. So I'm using smoky as my base. I've got some rhodochrosite here. This is a lovely kind of pink and grey marble. This is a semi-polished tumble. I really like this in raw form normally. You can see the pink and grey. This is a really beautiful heartstone. It's big on heart compassion, so slightly less about love and more about self-love, compassion and self-esteem. That feels really relevant for Virgoan energy. If you are or have a lot of Virgo in your chart, you will know that Virgoan tendency is to worry, to be anxious, to feel less than, not enough, to worry that things aren't working out, and a little bit of compassion goes a long way. Similarly, on the heart theme, we already talked about emerald. I've got 2 small emerald tumblers here, and this is a good example of how different emerald can be. This bottom one here is really green, really bright, kind of how we traditionally see emerald. And this other one, which is a South Africa shape emerald, is almost like a forest, dark green. So emerald is coming in here, and I'm putting that up in the earth section on the north of my chart. So my north is this direction, so you can also use the compass on your phone to know where the north, south, east and west in your room is. And I'm putting the emeralds in my north area because I feel like I need to kind of get grounded with some self-esteem and some confidence. I need that compassion to come down into earth and be tangible so I can actually do stuff with it. Like a lot of people who don't have much earth in their chart, it's easy to be stuck up here in the head space. And I feel like that heart and loving myself enough to come down into earth, and I think this applies for everybody right now, is really helpful. So emerald in there. Another really useful stone for any earth season, and actually this is a really good Capricorn one as well, is chrysocolla. So chrysocolla is a kind of a greeny blue marble. It's super pretty, sometimes a little bit of red in it as well. Often comes lazurite and malachite as a blend, as a mixed stone. So chrysocolla is an earth stone, but it's about earth with a little bit of water. And a good analogy here is to think about rocks on a beach that get shaped by the flow of water. The rock is still earth, it still is grounded, it's still solid, but it is how it is because of the water. So chrysocolla for me translates as finding earthing, grounding and stability by letting your emotions shape you. And I think, again, as we're in Pisces season, so it's really nice to have this water energy on our grid, but in quite an earthy way. And traditional stones for Virgo would also be quite blue and green as well. Virgo rules the throat chakra, which is about communication. Lapis lazuli or lazuli is one of the key stones for Virgo, as is sapphire if you're looking at a trad gemstone. And that's because the throat chakra is represented as blue in pretty much all chakra traditions, in the Vedic and the Western and the New Age. The throat chakra and communication, Mercury rules communication, Mercury rules Virgo, is all about speaking your truth and feeling confident in finding your voice, your authentic voice, your ability to share and to be out there in the world, living your life, sharing your truth, finding your authentic voice, speaking with integrity, and doing your work. And Virgo energy is often a little blocked in the throat chakra because of the worry and the kind of the fear of things going wrong, or the anxiety, the need for perfectionism and structure that they can only get at certain times of the cycle. That can kind of often create a blockage up here, fear in the throat chakra. So blue stones like blue kyanite, lapis lazuli, celestite to a degree are also really helpful as well. I, as you can tell, talk a lot, and although communication is always my strongest point, I don't necessarily feel like I'm really struggling in this area right now. So even though I know that the throat chakra is key for Virgo, for me and for how I'm reading the energy as a practitioner and for myself, I think that this chrysocolla is enough right now. Okay, we have a couple more to put on here. So we're going to go with malachite, which is one of my absolute favourites. Malachite is this amazing lava-like stone, green stone. It's so special. It is traditionally a Scorpio stone. I'm a Scorpio sun, so I have a lot of it. I really am drawn to it. And it's a stone of protection. So I would use this, and you can see me instinctively do that. I've got these lovely, really big, chunky tumble stones, and it's not the cheapest, but if you can get big stones, then they work really well for meditation, because I can comfortably close my hands over those, and they feel like they're not going to fall out through the bottom. Malachite's a great one for meditation. It's a great one to grid either side of your head. If you don't want to hold anything, you can just place a piece, or place an arc of them around your head, or on your third eye if you just have the one. It's a stone that's about getting into the higher chakras, but in a way that's very connected to earth. It's a protective stone, so really useful while we're instigating new routines, new structures, trying new things, maybe being a little bit nervous about how things are going to work out. Malachite's got your back, and I absolutely adore him. He is really a supportive energy that feels so essential right now. So I've got 3 pieces of malachite, and I'm putting those through the fire section of my chart, through, oh, I've got this going really diagonally wrong now. Yeah, I'm putting these through the fire section of my chart, which is the south, and this is the area of the doing, of action, of activity, ruled by Mars. I have a lot of fire myself in my chart, so I find that it's really useful to tap into that. But it's, in this case, the fire is the least active of all the elements that we're working with at the moment. Fire's coming next in Aries, which is only about 3 weeks away, but we're not there yet. We're preempting fire. So for me, this is about protection in this area, protecting my visions, dreams and ideas so that they're ready to flourish when we do get to that fire season. Howlite, I mentioned before, is like little pieces of white marble. So soothing, right? Howlite is a calming, soothing stone, and I feel like that is the number one thing I am needing right now. I think it's probably the number one thing all of us are needing right now. So howlite is also sitting through the south of my chart, soothing maybe the fires, anger, frustration, irritation that's come up in the last couple of months, not being able to go anywhere, being locked down, not being able to work properly, forever being on Zoom. Pretty annoying, huh? And finally, the very last stone I'm working with, I've got quite small ones here, so I brought a little bigger one to show you, is green moss agate. So moss agate, as you might guess from the name, is very earthy. It's plant-based. It's actually a really great stone to use in your plants. This or black tourmaline if you're fighting not being very green-fingered and you need to get your house plants moving, then you could do worse than plant a little piece of green moss agate into the soil. It's really hard to show you on screen, but these stones are very marbled. They kind of look like marbly pieces of earth or algae and pebbles. So this is a really grounding stone, and this is again coming back to that big earth philosophy. We really want to be connecting to ground, getting our feet in the sand, our feet in the mud. Go outside and do that, even if it feels a bit grubby. You will feel so much better, I promise. So this is going into all corners of my chart. I'm putting some green moss in the north and in the southeast, and pretty much through the centre there as well. And I'm going to put one piece right at the top here, that big piece in the north. And I think this is a really beautiful expression of the earth energy that we're in right now. So that's our crystal grid. Now I have it all set up. The way I would normally work with it, as I said, is to cleanse it first. If you haven't already cleansed your crystals before you set the grid, which is usually a good idea with your salt or your moonlight or your smoke, then now's a good time to waft some smoke. You can also cleanse with a tuning fork. So I might use my tuning fork to send clearing vibrations, and all of this is intention. So the main thing is that you're thinking, these crystals are clear, they are pure, they are ready to help support and serve my purpose for my greater good and that of all people. If you work with Reiki, you might want to work with the symbols as well. And then I'm going to hold my hands. I always start with my right over my grid, so I can start to feel into the energy, and then we work in a clockwise direction, almost activating, turning the grid on, and I can already feel the heat from that. It's a really powerful one. One of the other things I didn't mention earlier is working with yin and yang. Again, if you only have a couple of crystals, you don't need loads, but maybe choose one that's working into your yin energy or inward facing, lunar, quieter emotional landscape, and then one that's working with your yang energy, the right side of the body, which is your active, outward facing, manifesting, vitality energy. And then you can have the two stones and think, what do I need more of in my yang? What do I need more of in my yin? Or what do I need less of? Or maybe if I know I'm feeling really hot in my yang side, then maybe put that hot yang stone onto your yin side to create some balance. So this is another way we can work with crystal vibes. As it is, I'm going to use my grid and turn it on with my channel and my energy, invoking my own inner mantra. And then drawing that energy with gratitude into my vessel, into my body, through my hands. And invoking spirit to support me in sharing that energy with you through the medium of sound. So that is your crystal grid. I'm going to take a photo of that at the end. I will post it into the notes so you guys can see it. And we are going to move very shortly into the sound. The last thing that I have to share with you is tarot. So again, people often in a similar way wonder how and why tarot is so involved with sound. Tarot is originally kind of a medieval Italian astrology. It's really, again, another intuitive tool. For me, it's never about foresight or reading the future. It's about looking into your intuition and feeling into your instincts. So I will always use a signifier card. The signifier for this particular moon, for Virgo, is the Hermit. Very appropriate. I'm going to show you two versions. So this is the Hermit in the Moonchild deck, which is one of the ones I use the most. You can see this solitary figure in the centre here. So hard doing this in mirror. And if I show you really close, you can probably see that she's kind of in this beautiful marble temple, and she's arriving at a window looking out on a future, on a desert, a landscape, on a kind of a Martian-like landscape. So the Hermit energy is about, as you would expect, solitude. It's about meditation. Retreat is a good word for Hermit energy. And that's really what this Virgo season is all about. It is about going inwards, looking at your own rituals, your own routines. What do you need to do in your solitude to move forward back out into greater service? Refinement is a really good word. I really love how the Hermit is drawn in the Wild Unknown deck. This is my other favourite deck. His big old giant turtle with a little light on his head. He's not hiding from the world. And that's really important to note, because that lantern, that light on top, is showing him still shining, still glowing, still present, still available. But he's going inwards for himself. He's going in for his own journey, for his own experience, for his own greater learning. The card we associate with Pisces energy, remembering we're in the Pisces solar season, is the moon. And I think when you put these two together, they're just a really beautiful combination. The soft moonlight and the soft lantern, just soft, gentle energy while we go inwards and do our inner retreat work. So I really hope that has given you guys some nice insights into rituals, into crystal energy, into what we can be doing in this Virgo season to be really amplifying our own connection to life, to our path, to our dharma. Crystals, as I've been saying, is such a supportive way of working with sound, because I think they help you set a space and clarify your intention. So if you haven't already worked with your intention, if you're not sure what you want to bring today into your meditation, into your sound journey, then now is a really nice time to start thinking about a key word, a mantra, or a sentence. So even if you're journaling extensively, see if you can bring it down to one sentence and then down to one word. For example, like I might be thinking that I want to really spend time this month improving my health and getting better routines in, getting back to my yoga mat more, making more time for self-ritual. And actually, I could bring that all back down to ritual, or to boundaries in my case, where I want to make sure that I'm making that space for myself. So see if you can take yourself on a journey from a wider kind of view of where you are, what you want to bring into this lunar phase, this next 2 weeks as we move towards the final new moon of the cycle. And then see if you can draw that down into a sentence, then maybe just to one word. And that one word you can repeat in mantra over and over again. And I'm going to show you some mala beads in just a moment to do that. So as I just set up for the sound, what I would love is for you guys to take a moment with your journal and just find yourselves a comfortable nook. If you're not already on headphones, I really recommend that for the sound. It makes such a difference. I am streaming to you in glorious stereo using multiple mics. A lot of that quality is lost if it just comes out of a phone or an iPad. So do embrace headphones if you have them. If you don't, then a nice Bluetooth speaker is great. If you don't have any of those, don't switch off. Do just use your device, but be mindful that the sound may be not quite as clear and as pure. So forgive me for that. Okay, well, let's see if there's anything else we need to do. Oh my God, I forgot to talk to you about astrology, and there's so much to say. I'm only going to give this a couple of minutes because I don't think I have too long, and I really want to dive into the sounds with you guys. We have touched on lots of this already. Obviously, we have the current Virgo moon switching into Libra by the end of March the 1st. The moon changes signs every 2.5 days. So where the moon falls in these full and new moons is really just like an anchor, a signifying point in the cycle. The moon will go through all the other signs again by the time we get to the next new moon. So it's really interesting when people get very obsessed with the full and the new moons. Actually, it's the journey between them that is often the most interesting. And it's certainly what's going on elsewhere in the skies that really creates a map or a blueprint, which allows you to see that moon in a different lens. So a full moon in Virgo means something really different this year to what it meant last year based on what else is going on around it. So what else is going on around it? So we've already touched on the Great Conjunction. We're coming off the back of an Aquarius stellium, which is, a stellium is when you have 3 or more planets, or 4 or more, if one of them's the sun or the moon, in one sign. And all that means is that we're really seeing a big kind of funnel of energy through the focal point of one sign. So about 10 days ago, everything was in Aquarius, pretty much. Not everything, but like 7 planets. So that's a lot. That does not happen often at all. And this was all being anchored by Jupiter and Saturn sitting pretty at the beginning of their Aquarius journey. For Saturn, that's a 2.5-year journey. For Jupiter, it's a 1-year journey. That's a lot of time in Aquarius with all the other planets in Aquarius too. So that's why a lot of the energy has been very up here. It's been airy, it's been in the head, it's been mentally straining, draining and full on. And it's also been really pulling us into looking forwards into this innovative, technology-driven new landscape that we're all moving towards in the age of Aquarius. So it's been very big. On top of that, we've had Mercury retrograde, which, as most of us know, involves a lot of communication breakdown and technical fail. Not for any other reason than what Mercury does in retrograde is ask us to look inwards and learn some lessons, learn how to show up in our communication way into the world. And usually if we're not doing that very cleanly, he'll intervene to cause a few breakages to get us to take a closer look. That is one of the reasons that Mercury is often associated with these continuous technical fails. And those of you that are watching this may be laughing with some irony that I'm actually recording this because I had a big technical fail last night, even though we're at the end of Mercury retrograde. Mercury has gone direct as of the 21st of Feb, but he is in shadow, so it takes about 3 weeks for Mercury to get back up to full speed, as it were. So even though the retrograde is done, we are still gently coming back to regular pace. So you're still going to feel a few flickers of that retrograde shadow, and the more you feel, the more work is still to be done on the communication front. So it's all been pretty big, but what we now have is a slight pause, and I'm really seeing this, that we've had this big tidal wave of retrogrades, stelliums, age of Aquarius, Great Conjunction, boom boom boom, out the blocks, big stuff, and now there's like a little bit of a pause before we come into the astrological new year. Aries is the first sign of the zodiac, so when the sun moves into Aries in mid-March, from the 19th of March, that's the beginning of the new year in terms of astrology. So, for me, the new year in January, thank God, it didn't really matter this year, is nowhere near as important as this new year. This is where our cycle completes. Pisces, the grandfather of the zodiac, is the end of the cycle. He completes our journey, we ascend, and we move into our next cycle. And that's why this Virgo phase is a really nice time, this Virgo full moon, to come back down to earth before that kind of final flourish of Pisces, kind of watery voom, for want of a better phrase, before we get into the fire of the new season. So Virgo versus Pisces do have these two different energies enormously, but where they're linked this year is Venus. So Venus, the planet of love, beauty, art, sweet things, all the good things, is super active right now. Venus has just moved into Pisces a couple of days ago. This makes for a really beautiful, fluid, supportive energy in all things heart related, both outward facing and inward facing. Pisces is very sensitive, very delicate, very intuitive, and often finds it hard to connect in the heart space because they're so busy being up here in their intuition. So actually Venus being very active right now is a way to link the solar and lunar vibes. The other thing that needs to be mentioned is the Saturn square Uranus. Saturn square Uranus peaked about 4 days ago, but is an ongoing feature of the skies, and there'll be 3 peaks this year. The next one in June, in the middle of a retrograde. Watch out for that one. And the next one after that will be on Christmas Eve. And this really is probably one of the biggest signatures this year, astrologically speaking. Saturn square Uranus is a tense kind of interaction between 2 planets. It can produce a lot of fire, a lot of difficulty and a lot of challenge, but the opportunity is there for growth and positive outcomes if you can navigate that challenge, but it is a tricky one. So on top of all the other stuff that's been happening, we've also had Saturn square Uranus kind of creaking up into its full expression. it's big and it's tricky. Saturn is the lord of karma, of boundaries, discipline, rules, regulations, authority. Uranus is all about rebellion, eccentricity, going their own way, unexpected change, surprise. That is a tricky mixture. None of us like that mixture. So be very mindful that as Saturn and Uranus continue this dance through the year, there's going to be moments where that gets a little bit sticky. We have just come through one in the last week. So if anything has come up for you this week that you've been like, that's really a little bit out of nowhere, a curveball of something a little bit unexpected that just doesn't feel great on the surface, that's fine. That's astrology. That's the energy of the universe showing up for us as above, so below. But it's a sign for you. It doesn't mean bad things are happening. It means it's a sign that these are areas of life to look at. Where can you see a tension between boundaries, limits, rules, regulations in your life, structures, very Virgoan, and where can you see a tension with the need for change, the need for surprise, the need to just throw a curveball in there and turn left? And that's the intersection that we want to be exploring, really, is the main theme of 2021. So that's also ongoing right now. And the last big thing to mention is the moon trine Pluto. A trine is a harmonious, beautiful energy. So when we have a trine between two celestial objects, that means that their energies are working together supportively. The moon is our emotional awareness, our emotional inner landscape, our yin side. And Pluto, transformation, all about rebirth, starting over, regeneration, resurrection. Again, very scorpionic. So that's one of the other reasons I've got Malachite on my grid today, is that Pluto is also having a bit of a moment, and Pluto is going to become extra big in the next month or so. So there's a lot of energy of transformation. There's a lot of energy of change. But the Virgo kind of overview of all of this is that energy of change is about routine, about supporting ourselves, supporting our self-love, finding ways into showing up more honestly, fully and joyfully in our lives for ourselves and others by putting in rituals and routines that really support us and what it is we need personally. So hopefully all of that makes some sort of sense to you, and there's something in there for you to go away and work with. I really hope so. And I'm going to shift over in a moment to delivering you a sound bath, and I'm really excited to share it with you, and I hope you find that some of this work we've been doing together in the ritual side of this Virgo moon can now help you, or can now take root in the space of the sound bath, and will now allow you to really integrate some of the messages coming through for you in this Virgo moon. So I'm going to actually not stop and move the video around too much, because I've had so many issues with technology this week. I don't really trust it. So you will have to bear with me while I just move a few crystals out the way and put a few crystal bowls in place. Hopefully you can use this moment to just settle yourself, to grab those headphones, to get yourself nice and comfy. I'm just going to blow that out so I don't set fire to myself. And don't forget that your sound journey is yours and yours alone. Sometimes sound offers us a really incredible conduit to get deep into our inner landscape. Sometimes we find ourselves staying on the surface. Either of those outcomes is fine. Either of them is what you need today. And don't be despondent if you're used to having a big journey and it doesn't really feel like it's showing up for you today. That just means it wasn't meant for you right now. It can be frustrating. It's also a little bit of that as above, so below energy, knowing that what is right for you will not pass you by. What you need at any given time will find its way into your being. So, short of one. Okay. So, for those of you just joining for the sound, welcome. Thank you for joining for this full moon in Virgo ritual soundscape. So we have completed the ritual section of today's proceedings, and we're going to move into the sound. So make yourselves comfortable. I will do that by having a little coffee. So I would often do a guided meditation alongside the bowls, but it's actually really quite difficult to do in the sound space in its current incarnation. So you'll have to forgive me that today, and we will do that when we meet in person. We're just going to dive straight into some pure sounds today. So gently allowing your breath to soften, your body to soften, feeling your body gently sink into the earth space around you. Feeling the weight of your shoulder blades as they press down into earth. Feeling the back of your head, maybe lolling it from side to side, just slightly until you believe that you are in your most centered expression of self. Feeling the breath flood the lungs, expand the ribs, press them down into the earth as your body takes in the oxygen, takes in life. And as we gently drift into the sound space together, finding your intention once more, finding your mantra, your keyword, your affirmation. Perhaps it's around rituals, devotion, healing, compassion. These are all key words for this beautiful Virgo season. And again, coming back to that root meditation. Perhaps if you're now lying down, imagining energy from earth travelling in through the soles of the feet, and there it's passing the earth star chakra, your tether to Mother Nature. In through the feet and up through the legs, into the root chakra, through the channel, whether the yoni or otherwise, that you find most available into your vessel, into your being. And as you exhale, that same energy finding its way out through your channel from your third eye, down through the chakras, all the way through the root, down the legs, through the feet, through the earth star chakra. Connecting to Mother Earth, connecting to Gaia, knowing she has all the support you need and you have all the intuition you need to find your way through this healing energy, this healing Virgo moon, into a place of bliss and joy and fulfillment. We've enjoyed emerging from your cocoon, noticing the breath on your lips and your nose. Perhaps bringing some small movements to the fingers, the toes, keeping the eyes closed for now. Noticing your body as it journeys back. Noticing the roots and that open channel between earth and vessel. Nature and nurture, intuition and body. Gently feeling into your subconscious for any messages, any insights, any downloads. Anything your conscious mind is needing to take forward on its journey. Moving slowly and softly. And then once again finding a gentle stillness. Maybe staying lying or maybe adjusting into a seated meditation. Arriving in pause, in reflection, in shunyata. everyone. So taking your time very gently as we move out of the sounds. Taking these moments to bank any emotions, any intuitions, any insights. You may want to reach for your journal right away, perhaps come back to the thoughts around earth and rooting, your intention if it comes back to your mind. Sound is a wonderful container for self-exploration, and we have such wonderful experiences in the sound space. They often only show themselves sometime afterwards when the sound has fully left our body 3 days later. So whatever's showing up for you today, do honour it, take time. The beauty of these practices at home is that we can remain in our cocoon long after the session is over, if you feel so called. Drink plenty of water, lovely teas. And be mindful that anything you've experienced, anything that's come up in your sound journey is really something that was already there for you to see. The sound is simply a conduit for us to access what we already know. I hope you've enjoyed your journey, whether it for you is a deep meditation or a more healing or therapeutic experience. If you do have any physical responses, we have discovered that although it seems improbable that online this can happen, it really does. You may find that the sound has really shown itself in a certain part of your body, and that is often consistent if you have an injury or an old condition or anything that kind of is hovering in that space. If there's nothing physical you know about, consider whether there could be an energetic or spiritual blockage or an emotional blockage. If you find, as is often the case, that you feel a heaviness or a tightness here, perhaps don't leap to the assumption that you are due a heart attack. Maybe consider more that you have some emotional anxiety that perhaps is ready to surface and be released after being disturbed and shaken about by the vibration and the sound. So I always try not to over talk at the end of these sessions, as I know you'll need to go and settle into your space for the evening and do your integration. Putting off my little stool. So I will leave it here this evening and wish you all wonderful full moon in Virgo energy. I hope you have enjoyed your journey, that you have learnt something, that you felt inspired. If you have any questions or comments or thoughts, if you would like to let me know how you are, then you can feel free to in the comments, or if you'd rather be private, you can drop me an email through the website in the notes. If you feel called to explore a one-to-one journey for a more targeted and specific experience in which I would use Reiki directly into your channel, that is also available. And if you're interested in discovering more about crystals, astrology, tarot, or any of the other ritual tools that we discussed today, then please do get in touch. Thank you all for your attention and love, and I send you in compassion and happiness. Happy new moon, full moon. Namaste.